Why do top pros play strange poker flops this way? Have you ever wondered why top professional poker players seem to play strange flops in ways that can be hard to understand? The truth is, their strategies are based on a solid grasp of ranges, opponent tendencies, and board dynamics. Let's break this down to see why they make these choices. First off, pros look at the flop in relation to both their perceived range and their opponent's range. This means they consider how well the flop connects with what they believe their opponent might be holding. For instance, if the flop is favorable for their perceived range, they might make a continuation bet even if their actual hand is weak. This tactic puts pressure on opponents, making them fold weaker hands or draw hands that may not improve. On the flip side, if the flop does not favor their range, especially if it looks good for their opponent, they might choose to check instead. This helps them avoid losing more chips when they suspect their opponent has a stronger hand. Next, top pros adjust their strategies based on the type of opponent they are facing. Against players known as calling stations, who rarely fold, pros tend to avoid bluffing on flops that likely hit their opponent's range. Instead, they might check to control the pot size. However, against more skilled players who can fold, they will often make aggressive bets on flops that connect well with their range to extract value or push opponents off their hands. Another tactic pros use is multi-street strategies, like double barreling. This means they will bet again on the turn after betting the flop. For example, if the board develops with potential draws, they may fire a second bet to take advantage of opponents holding weak pairs or draws. This can either force folds or build the pot when they have a strong hand. Understanding board texture is also key. A wet board has many possible draws, while a dry board has fewer. On wet boards, pros tend to be more cautious with marginal hands. They might check and fold or check call instead of betting aggressively. On dry boards, they are more likely to make a continuation bet to take down the pot right away. In practical terms, this means that top pros do not play every flop the same way. They consider how their hand interacts with the board, their opponent's tendencies, their position at the table, and the overall texture of the board. For example, with pocket twos on a flop that heavily favors the opponent's range, they may check and give up rather than risk losing more chips. But with a hand like ace-jack on a favorable flop, they will likely make a continuation bet to apply pressure. Overall, top pros play strange flops in ways that optimize their long-term expected value. They balance aggression with caution, exploit opponent tendencies, and adapt to the board texture and their position. Their decisions focus more on strategic considerations than just the strength of their hand, which is essential for successful post-flop play in poker.